Have you ever noticed the pattern in Donald Trump's trade war playbook? It starts with a sudden threat, often massive, like slapping billions in tariffs on China or warning the UK of consequences over their 5G deals with Huawei. Then comes the market panic, stocks dip, headlines scream, and economists sound alarms. But just when things seem to escalate, Trump suddenly retreats, softens the rhetoric, sometimes even praises the very countries he targeted. And then, without fail, he claims a big win, says the world now respects the US, and moves on to the next target. But does this strategy actually bring real results? Or is it all just political theater? Let's take China. Trump kicked off his trade war with them in 2018, saying he'd fix the trade deficit and bring jobs back to America. Tariffs went back and forth like a tennis match, hundreds of billions of dollars worth. The US stock market took major hits during these escalations, and American farmers suffered so badly that the government had to issue billions in bailout payments. Trump later signed Phase 1 of a trade deal with China in 2020, claiming it as a win, but many of the structural issues he targeted, like intellectual property theft and forced tech transfers, were left unresolved. Meanwhile, American consumers ended up paying higher prices for everything from washing machines to electronics. Then there's Europe. Trump threatened to impose tariffs on European car imports unless NATO countries increase their defense spending. Germany, France, and others didn't change much, yet Trump eventually praised them anyway and backed off. And then the UK, after Brexit, Trump said he'd give them a big, beautiful trade deal, but it never materialized. In fact, US-UK trade negotiations stalled due to disagreements over agriculture and digital services. And in the background, a pattern emerges. Trump threatens to squeeze countries economically, leverages US market power, then steps back once chaos sets in and spins it as a victory. Critics say it's erratic and damaging to long-term trust, while supporters argue it's bold, unpredictable, and forces foreign leaders to take him seriously. But here's the problem: global investors and foreign governments have started to see through the cycle. They recognize the bluff, the retreat, the victory declaration. Countries like China now hedge their bets by strengthening ties with Russia, the EU builds its own digital infrastructure, and allies question whether US policy under Trump is reliable or just reactive. In many ways, Trump's trade war playbook resembles a kind of economic shock doctrine. He creates the disruption and then controls the narrative of resolution. Yet the data tells a mixed story. The trade deficit with China barely improved, American manufacturers faced supply chain chaos, and inflation pressures increased. And while Trump may claim the US is winning, the world is quietly adapting, forming regional trade pacts, shifting supply chains, and reducing reliance on American leverage. So is Trump's strategy truly making America great again on the global trade stage? Or is it isolating the US in a world that's learning to move on without it? That's the bigger question. One thing is clear: this isn't just a trade strategy, it's a political performance. And the world is starting to read the script.